What's up YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. Today, you're here to learn how to brumate your collar lizards, and I don't blame you. Collar lizards are the most underrated reptile in the hobby today, and we need more breeders of these amazing creatures. And today, I'm going to show you how I brumate my collar lizards for the breeding season. My name's Ryan, this is Osmosis, let's roll the tape. So, I want to make a disclaimer before I begin this tutorial. I just want to say that brumating your collar lizards is dangerous and that I am not responsible if your lizard passes. However, thanks to the amazing community, I was able to breed collar lizards on my first try. And I believe if you follow my directions on this video carefully that you will have success breeding collar lizards. Alright, let's begin. Alright, step one is bulking up your collar lizard. And how I bulk my collar lizard up is I start 1 month before I actually go into brumation. I do this by giving them extra feedings daily, and I like to give them superworms, as superworms are high in content fat. For example, like if we eat cheeseburgers every day, we'll get fat. That's the same thing if they eat superworms every day, and I think that's a really good way to bulk them up before brumation starts. And how do you know that your collar lizard is nice and bulked up? Well, this is how I inspect my lizards before they go into brumation. You can check by looking at their back, legs, and their tail. And if you can see their bones at all in any of those areas, then your lizard's absolutely not bulked up enough. And you'll have to restart the bulk up step if you can't get them up to pace. And you do not want to brumate them if they're not bulked up enough, because it will kill your lizard. All right, let's go on to the next step. Alright, step two in cooling down your collar lizards. And how I cool my collar lizards is by, for example, I have 2 heat lamps on my collar lizards enclosures, and I have a 90-watt heat bulb on the basking side and a 29-watt heat bulb on the ambient side. And after 5 days of the bulking is done, I leave the lamps on completely just how they are, but with the 90-watt, I swap that out and put a 65-watt heat bulb in, as this will cool down the basking side probably around like 10 to 15 degrees. And then I reduce the light cycle by 2 hours a day. For example, from 12 hours to just a 10-hour light period. And after those 3 days are up, I take the 65-watt heat bulb out, and then I reduce the light cycle again for another 2 hours, going from 10 hours a day to 8 hours a day. And then after another 3 days, I will take the 29-watt heat bulb out and don't put any light bulb back in. And then I reduce the light cycle again for another 2 hours, going from 8 hours to 6 hours a day. This cool down period takes place for about 2 weeks long, and I want to mention that during this cool down period, you do not want to feed your collar lizards at all. You want to take all the bugs or whatever they can eat out of the enclosure, because if they have any food left in their stomach before they get in the wine cooler, which we will go over to next, then they'll have food in their stomach and they won't be able to digest it. Collar lizards need high heat for them to digest their food. If they can't digest their food during brumation, then they'll get something called stomach rot, and stomach rot will kill your collar lizard. So make sure they have digested all their food and they have not ate at all during this 2-week period. Alright guys, now we can go on to the next step. Let's go to the wine cooler part. Alright, step 3, the brumation period. So for the brumation period, you're going to want a wine cooler, and you don't want to cheap out on the wine cooler because this could really determine your collar lizard's life. So when you stick your collar lizard inside the wine cooler, you want to keep them honestly roughly about 55 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. And the reason why is at this period, their body can't metabolize anything really at all. So if they go, let's say for example, if they go up to 65 degrees, then their body will start metabolizing and then they'll lose body weight and they could die big time during this period. So please get a decent quality wine cooler. And how I set up my collar lizards inside my wine cooler is that I grab a 6-quart Sterilite tub. I like to drill air holes into it, and then I like to put paper towels on the bottom of it. And I also like to provide a hide. They just want to sleep, you know? They want to sleep and they don't want to see light at all. Do you like having light blasted on you when you sleep? No. Same thing for them. And for this period, you want to leave them inside the wine cooler for about 3 months. However, some people say they do it for 4 to 5 months, but 3 months worked perfectly fine for me. Alright, now that your collared lizard is in the brumation period, that doesn't mean you cannot check up on them at all. You do want to check up on them. I usually like to check up on my collared lizards every week. You know, and when you check up on them, just, you know, inspect the legs, inspect the tail, inspect the back, just make sure they aren't losing weight. But honestly, they really don't lose like any weight at all since their metabolism is just completely shut down. So people do provide a water dish for them to drink in. However, when they're in this brumation period, they just don't really move at all. They do still need hydration. And how they naturally get hydration in the wild is during this brumation period, they either get a bunch of fog and they breathe in that humidity, or in the wild, it doesn't always stay cool. You know, it might warm up like by 10-20 degrees for a couple of days, and during this couple of days, the collared lizards will actually come out and look for a water source. So you can replicate the same thing to give them hydration. And how you can do this is by taking your collared lizards out during the night and leaving them at room temperature in the closet all night. And then when the morning comes, grab a syringe and just drip some water on their nose. You know, most likely they will drink out of the syringe. However, they haven't always for me, and they don't drink for you right away. That's totally okay. Just try again next week, and I'm guaranteed they will drink some water for you throughout the brumation period. All right, 3 months have just magically gone by. All of a sudden, your collared lizard is finally out of brumation. And when your collared lizard gets out of brumation, the first thing you want to do is just stick them in a tub or stick them in their enclosure, but you don't want to have any lights on at all, period. They need to go through something called the warm-up cycle. And in the wild, after winter, usually temperatures just slowly increases back up naturally, and we want to replicate the same thing for them. And how do we do this? Or how do I do this? It's just the same thing as a cool down period, but it's just in reverse order, you know? So, you know, I'll just stick in like maybe a 29 watt heat bulb, let it be like that for a few days, and then I'll put in like a 65 watt heat bulb for another few days after that. And then after about a week and a half, I'll just put back, you know, the 90 watt heat light bulb, and then the temperatures are fully back. And also I want to mention, when it comes to post-brumation, you don't want to feed your collared lizard right away at all. Honestly, you don't even want to feed them for probably the first 5 days that come out of it. You know, they just got done sleeping for months. You know, you don't want, it's just going to be a lot on their body. So wait a few days, and then when you do start feeding them, just feed them slowly, you know? You don't want to just feed them so much. Just let them slowly get back to their usual. That's just how it is after brumation for them naturally. So just take your time in getting them back to their feeding schedule. And then after they're fully back to normal, usually within the first like 2 to 3 weeks, the male will finally begin to start doing his little mating dance. So the male will like start bobbing his head, getting on all fours, chasing the female around the enclosure, and then he'll like bite the back of her neck, maybe pull some hair a little bit, you know? But all jokes aside, usually they'll start mating after a few weeks. And you'll only see them probably lock up for just a few seconds, but that's totally enough to impregnate the female with some sperm. And then a month later, you'll have some eggs. And you guys, I'm not gonna go over how to just incubate the eggs or set up a lay bin for them, but I'll do that in the upcoming videos. And that's my tutorial on how to brumate your collared lizard. And if you guys got some value out of this, please hit that smash and like subscribe button down below. My name's Ryan, and you're watching Mighty Morphin Reptiles.